And at number 10, Ricky Gervais. Easily the most talked about on this list was Ricky Gervais' monologue, because it was clear he was intending to shock the audience with this speech. Gervais hosted the 2020 Golden Globe Awards at a time when so many celebrities were getting into hot water, and he didn't try to shy away from any of it. This 8-minute monologue took aim at the celebrities in the audience, and it was a delight to watch to the regular people around the world. During the speech, Gervais singled out Prince Andrew, Jeffrey Epstein, and the woke Hollywood. After giving the speech on a podcast, Gervais said he asked himself beforehand, quote, "Do I pander to the 200 egos in the room or to the 200 million people watching around the world? And there's no contest." One of the main criticisms of award shows these days is that they get too political, and Gervais addressed this head-on in his speech. He told the celebrities in the audience, quote, "You're in no position to lecture the public about anything.
If you win, right, come up, accept your little award, thank your agent and your God, and f*** off."
He then trashed the actors for being against harmful labor practices, but working for exploitative companies like Apple and Amazon. And at number 9, Rebel Wilson. Rebel Wilson hosted the 2022 BAFTA Film Awards, and her opening monologue was pretty controversial, dropping the jaws of many of the attendees. Rebel Wilson took the opportunity to announce that she was the next James Bond and to reveal a Daniel Craig tattoo live on stage. After announcing her role as the next Bond, she said,
"And because of the gender pay gap, I actually won't be called 007, I'll be 004.5.
During her speech, Rebel also addressed her dramatic weight loss, donning a sparkling red gown and saying, quote, "I might look a bit different from the last time you saw me here." Then adding, quote, "I hope J.K. Rowling still approves." Then continuing, "Guys, seriously, I didn't lose weight just for a guy, I did it to get more acting roles. I'm now so excited I can play the non-funny love interest in an Adam Sandler movie." She finished off the monologue by saying, quote, "In all sign languages, this is the gesture for Putin," before raising her middle finger. And at number 8, Michael Moore. After Moore won the award for his documentary Bowling for Columbine at the 2003 Oscars, he came on stage and gave one of the most hated acceptance speeches of all time. Accepting his award, Moore slammed then President George W. Bush.
"We like nonfiction and we live in fictitious times. We live in a time where we have fictitious election results, where we have a man sending us to war for fictitious reasons."
But it seemed the audience was not on board with his messaging, and he was actually getting booed loudly during the speech. Moore later said about the speech, quote, "As soon as I said fictitious times and the fictitious election results, there was a ton of sound, primarily boos. I could barely hear myself speak. It was like I had ignited a riot."
"We are against this war, Mr. Bush. Shame on you, Mr. Bush. Shame on you."
And at number 7, Sinead O'Connor. Sinead O'Connor was at the peak of her career when she was asked to perform on SNL, but the live performance did not go as planned and her statements had serious repercussions. O'Connor performed on SNL in October of 1992, but SNL was probably wishing that she didn't, because O'Connor ended the performance by holding up a picture of Pope John Paul II, ripping it up, and stating, quote, "Fight the real enemy," obviously offending millions of people in the process. The show quickly cut after they saw what happened, but the damage was already done, and tons of angry calls came in. One audience member even tried to assault O'Connor and had to be removed by security. Not only was O'Connor banned from SNL and most likely ever hosting anything again, her career never recovered. And at number 6, Angelina Jolie. This is easily Angelina Jolie's strangest moment, and I can't believe more people don't talk about how insane it was. Jolie showed up to the 2000 Academy Awards very excited for the night to come, because she was nominated for Best Supporting Actress for Girl Interrupted. But her time on the red carpet was a shock to everyone. She came with her brother James Haven, who she kissed on the mouth at the red carpet. Things were even stranger when she won the award and said during her speech,
"And I'm so in love with my brother right now." He just held me and said he loved me.
After the strange moment, nobody could figure out what even happened and if their relationship could potentially be romantic. Jolie later said nothing romantic happened between them, and their parents actually loved this display of affection, but it's very strange still. Halfway number 5, Kanye West. Everyone knows about this mess. Taylor Swift went up to the stage to accept her award for You Belong With Me at the 2009 MTV Video Music Awards. And before she could finish, Kanye West trashed the whole thing. He stole the mic and said to the crowd,
"Yo, Taylor, I'm really happy for you. I'm gonna let you finish. But Beyonce had one of the best videos of all time."
Swift was mortified, and Beyonce could not believe what was happening. Kanye later admitted on Ellen that the incident gave him so much bad publicity, he left America and stayed in Japan, Rome, and even Hawaii to let things settle down. This event also started their decade-long feud that's still ongoing. In at number 4, Pearl Jam. Pearl Jam got in some hot water when they accepted an award and didn't really care. The band got a Grammy for Best Hard Rock Performance for Spin the Black Circle. The band seemed pretty shocked about the win. I guess they assumed that someone else was going to get the award instead. Eddie Vedder said on stage,
"Well, we just came to relax. I just wanted to watch the show."
Almost like they didn't want the hassle of coming up to accept the award. They also trashed the award show in general when they said,
"I don't know what this means. I don't think it means anything."
He finished off the lukewarm speech by saying, "Thanks, I guess," to the crowd. If I was a fan of this band, I would not have been happy about that. In at number 3, Sam Smith. Things got a bit awkward when Sam Smith was a bit too self-congratulatory and claimed they were the first openly gay person to win an award when they won the 2016 Academy Award for Best Original Song for their James Bond theme, The Writing's on the Wall.
I read an article a few months ago by Sir Ian McKellen, and he said that no openly gay man had ever won an Oscar. I want to dedicate this to the LGBT community all around the world.
Many thought it was crazy that Smith wouldn't have known that legendary singers like Elton John had won the award before them. Smith was later called out for this mistake and later apologized, blaming the mistake on drinks they had beforehand. In at number 2, Robert De Niro. Robert De Niro is a very private person and he pretty rarely is outspoken about his personal beliefs. But during one accepted speech he went off the rails and offended many people watching at home. Taking the stage of the 2018 Tony Awards, he couldn't help but talk about the controversial US President Donald Trump.
I'm gonna say one thing, Trump. It's no longer down with Trump, it's Trump.
Many in the crowd cheered on this speech, but many Americans watching at home did not like how De Niro blasted the president to the entire world. This was not a huge shock to De Niro fans, as he said in the past about how awful that he thinks Trump is. It's also been reported that Trump and De Niro have only met once, so people are not sure how he was able to form such a bad opinion so fast. And finally, number 1, Seth MacFarlane. I don't think there's any way that a monologue by comedian Seth MacFarlane would not be controversial, but his 2013 speech at the Oscars took the cake. The comedian was asked to host the Academy Awards, a pretty shocking decision since this is the man responsible for Family Guy. He also likes to sing, so his monologue was a song in part. The song he performed was called, quote, "We Saw Your Boobs," and named plenty of women in the audience that had been nude for a role before, mentioning everyone from Meryl Streep to Naomi Watts. He had a choir of men singing with him about how happy they were to have seen all of their breasts. Very gross. Charlize Theron probably had the worst reaction, hiding her face in her hands when the camera panned to her. This was the tip of the iceberg. He also shared how women would give themselves the flu to prep for roles, and also made a joke about the Chris Brown and Rihanna incident. I'm sure the Oscars learned their lesson after that one.
I'm so sorry, but we have to start with the slap. If you've been living under a rock for the past couple of years, you probably didn't know that Will Smith got up on that Oscar stage in 2022 to slap Chris Rock. When I say this moment was iconic, it really was, with the impact the slap had on the world and on Chris Rock's face / ego probably. But in order to discuss this, we have to rewind a bit. Like, why did Will do all that on live national television nonetheless? Well, Chris was presenting the Best Documentary Award that evening, and as a comedian, he couldn't do it without a few jokes. One of them being calling out Jada Pinkett Smith for her shaved head. Jada, who had alopecia, did not find the joke funny at all, and neither did Will, obviously. He didn't let the disrespect go and did what he had to do, but not without reminding him to keep his wife's name out of Chris's mouth. What makes this wilder was Will going back on stage 10 minutes later for winning his first ever Oscar award for Best Actor. Don't worry, he apologized to Chris and the Academy, and even though he received a 10-year ban from the show, Will is still an icon. Next up is the time Jay-Z called out the Grammys. During this year's Grammys, Jay-Z won the Dr. Dre Global Impact Award and took it as an opportunity to call out the Recording Academy for failing Beyoncé, his wife. The list of Album of the Year nominees did not include Beyoncé and her phenomenal Renaissance album. I don't even listen to the album, and I'm surprised Beyoncé wasn't nominated either. Anyways, Jay-Z acknowledged the fact that nominations are purely subjective, and he doesn't mean to embarrass Taylor Swift, who won this year. But Beyoncé broke the record of winning most Grammys at 32 wins to date. And the fact that she hasn't even won Album of the Year yet, which is the highest coveted award of the show, is wild. And his speech did not stop there. He said, "Some of you gonna go home tonight feeling like you've been robbed. Some of you don't belong in the category," which was definitely a type of diss to other nominees, but yeah, he really went there. He clarified he was nervous, but said when he's nervous, he speaks the truth, so he said what he said and he's not taking it back. Coming up next is Lady Gaga's meat dress. The meat dress was definitely one for the times. During the 2010 VMAs, Lady Gaga was already a household name with an interesting reputation among the media and her fans. So her accepting the award for Best Video in an outfit made of entirely real red meat should not be too surprising. But it was, because back then, the wild and bold was still something the world feared. She had the meat dress, the meat hat, meat shoes, and finished off the look with a meat clutch. She confused the media and angered a lot of vegetarians and vegans for that one, and many hoped it wasn't actual meat, but they were greatly disappointed. I can only imagine the odor through that night. And the reaction among celebrities was priceless. Even today, she has zero regrets about it. She remembered the smell and thought it was so thrilling to wear. The whole point of the outfit was to go against boundaries and make a lasting impression, and I can confidently say that she and her stylist did just that. Since 14 years later, we're still talking about it today. Coming up next, John Travolta can't read. Okay, picture this. It's the year 2014 and Frozen is literally the biggest grossing movie right now. It was nominated and won 2 Oscars that year as was expected. But this is where John Travolta comes in, as he was the one to present Idina Menzel's live performance of Let It Go. Now, instead of saying her name, he completely butchered it and called her Adele Dazeem, which is nowhere close to being right. All he had to do was read from a screen. How could he mess that up? But low-key, I don't blame him. You'd think reading off a teleprompter would mean no mistakes, right? Anyways, his little fumble was all anyone could ever talk about. He later shared that at the time he had just finished talking to Hollywood icon Goldie Hawn, so maybe he was still not very present when he got on stage. He even sent Idina flowers as an apology. Thankfully, she wasn't ever offended in the slightest and even got her revenge the following year, calling him Glom Gazingo. This year marks the 10th anniversary of John Travolta's mistake, and to celebrate, Idina posted a TikTok wishing Adele Dazeem a happy 10th birthday. Coming up next is the time Jodie Foster came out of the closet. For her Golden Globes acceptance speech in 2013, people thought she finally came out after years of speculation. She didn't really, nor did she explicitly state what was already common knowledge at the time, because by then people already knew / had an idea she liked women. But it was the first time she did kind of address it in public. This brought on the discussion of celebrities' relationship with the media and society as a whole. She said that she already had the coming out spiel years ago with only trusted family and friends, but with fame, it seems like all of your personal details need to be announced to the world, like at a press conference. This was her way of saying that she's not gonna state the obvious to the world like it's their given right, nor does she need to. She also made a joke about how her life is not a reality show, and if it was, it would be extremely boring. She sparked ongoing conversation about celebrities and their rights to privacy, which is super ironic for me to even talk about. Next up is Joe Coy's jokes. Comedian Joe Coy did not win the crowd over after his hosting gig at the Golden Globes a couple of months ago. During his monologue, he decided to take a stab at the whole Taylor Swift and NFL thing, saying that the difference between the Golden Globes and the NFL was that they have fewer shots of the singer. This was referencing the time the NFL was constantly putting Taylor on their Jumbotron and promoting her and Travis Kelce's relationship. Now, let me just say, this wasn't the most heinous joke in the world, but it also wasn't funny at all. Taylor's fans definitely felt disrespected by it with the way they took to Twitter to express their distaste for him and his hosting. He later shared that the joke wasn't meant to offend her in any way because it was just a dumb little joke. He said that he's also a fan of hers as he helped his nieces get tickets for her sold-out Eras tour. His other joke about the Barbie movie was one that most people had an issue with. He reduced the film to just being about a plastic doll with a big chest size, if you know what I mean. However, according to director Greta Gerwig, he was absolutely right in a sense, but that did not stop people from calling him out. I mean, with these types of gigs, you win some, you lose some. Maybe he'll get another chance to host another award show. Next up is getting arrested at the Grammys. The Grammys this year was kinda wild, at least for artist Michael Santiago Render, whose stage name I'm probably not allowed to say against video guidelines. Anyways, during the Grammys pre-televised event, he won not just one, not two, but 3 Grammys. He won Best Rap Song, Best Rap Performance, and Best Rap Album. But what was supposed to be an incredible and eventful evening turned sideways real fast when he was escorted out of the venue in handcuffs. Witnesses were super confused because he didn't do anything wrong. There were even rumors that he resisted and had to be carried out, which were all untrue. Mind you, this all happened right after he won his awards and got his trophies. The police really had to go in there and ruin his moment, didn't they? One of his representatives clarified that he was arrested as a result of a misdemeanor, one that was unrelated to his music or the Grammys. Later, he was asked about it and only said that nothing bad happened and that's just life. In his words, "But we winners, that's it, we hit a speed bump and then we hit back to the party." And honestly, that's a great life motto if I've ever seen one. Coming up next is Rachel Zegler's Oscar debut. In 2022, Steven Spielberg's West Side Story was nominated for 7 Oscar awards. So you'd think that would mean the leading star, aka Rachel Zegler, who took on the iconic role of Maria, would be invited, right? Unfortunately, no. Fans assumed she would be attending because duh, but after one fan asked her what she'd be wearing, she said she'd be wearing her sweatpants and her boyfriend's flannel because she wasn't invited. This caused an uproar among her fan base because what do you mean she wasn't invited? It had absolutely nothing to do with the fact that she is a fresh face in Hollywood, but if a Steven Spielberg movie was nominated for that many awards, it only makes sense that she attends. She clarified that she tried everything she could but was unable to get a ticket. She did say that she's very proud of the film and will be cheering them on from the comfort of her room. And while she was able to accept it, the fans refused to because she did end up showing up, not as a guest, but as a presenter, which is honestly better than nothing. It's unclear if her invitation was caused by the fans' commotion or just a production miracle, but the important thing is she got to go. Next up is announcing the wrong winner. If you thought Will Smith slapping Chris Rock in front of hundreds of people was awkward, then let me remind you of the time the wrong movie was presented for winning Best Picture. Hollywood actors Faye Dunaway and Warren Beatty were given the responsibility to announce the winners, but as a result of holding the wrong envelope, met the most awkward Oscar fumble in the history of awkward Oscar fumbles. After La La Land was announced, there was the celebratory period among the cast and crew, and it would have been a beautiful and well-deserved moment had they actually been the winners. I feel so bad watching it back because they were in the middle of doing their acceptance speeches when it was revealed that they did not in fact win. The real win was actually the iconic film Moonlight. So what happened was, Warren Beatty received the wrong envelope, and if you look back, you can tell he was really confused when he read it, only for Faye Dunaway to announce La La Land for him. The envelope had Emma Stone's name from her win earlier that night. I'm sure whoever handed the wrong envelope felt so bad after this, but at least they made history. And what better way to finish off this list but with another awkward awards show win? Yeah, I'm talking about the time Kanye West started his never-ending beef with Taylor Swift. In 2009, Taylor Swift was up on stage about to give her speech after winning Best Video for Female Artist. But then Kanye came out of nowhere to deliver his message of objection and also the iconic "I'ma let you finish" but line that still gets referenced to this day. Anyways, he just wanted the whole world to know that it should have been Beyonce to win with her hit song Single Ladies. Even with the mixed cheers and booing, you could tell that Taylor was super uncomfortable. Like, he literally ruined a huge moment for her just to make it about himself. It's actually quite interesting that someone had to point out Beyonce deserved to win instead of Taylor twice throughout Taylor's career, but Kanye went about it in the most inappropriate way. Taylor wasn't even done with her speech before Kanye came on stage, and a lot of fans were furious as to why they just let him go on stage like that, calling the VMAs out for their unprofessionalism. If only they knew what would become of Kanye and Taylor after this, as it sparked the tension between both artists even today. You know what they say, you can't spell awkward without awards, so everything just makes sense.
Starting off the list, number 10 is none other than Eminem. When Eminem won the Best Original Song for Lose Yourself back in 2003, he wasn't there to accept it, so his co-writer abruptly had to accept the award on his behalf. Were you wondering where he was to miss his original song winning a Grammy? Well, he was sleeping. In an interview when he was asked about the matter, he confessed he skipped the ceremony on purpose because he didn't think he had a chance of winning since he was up against Bono. Additionally, he made it clear that he has no care to go to the Grammys because, as he states, he is tired of seeing the same cycle every year. He also confessed that having an album of the year used to be a big deal, but it's not anymore. He does not hide the fact that he is upset with the Grammys, as he dragged the Recording Academy even more by stating that he has no interest in playing this rigged game anymore that they call an award show. It really doesn't surprise me that he says these things. Moving along to number 9, we have Ariana Grande. The artist was set to perform at the 2019 Grammy Awards ceremony, but because of certain events, she was no longer able to perform. In a report with former Grammy ceremony producer Ken Elrich, he stated that the reason why Ariana Grande could not perform was because she felt as if it was too late for her to put something together for the show. He also mentioned in the news article that even though she was nominated for 2 awards, the Recording Academy wanted her to perform, but after much debate, it was too late to set up a performance. This statement was revealed to be completely fake by Ariana herself when she called him out for lying about the reason in which she couldn't perform. In a series of tweets, Grande revealed that she decided not to attend or perform because she didn't feel supported or wanted by the producers. Additionally, they gave her no creative freedom within her performance, and even after offering 3 different songs and the Grammy producers still not compromising, Ariana said thank you next and took her business elsewhere. Taking the charts by storm at number 8 is Will Smith. If you did not watch him in The French Prince of Bel-Air, you probably know him from his multitude of leading movie roles that include Men in Black, Independence Day, and Concussion. I mean, how do you not know Will Smith? The American actor and father of Jaden and Willow Smith took a stand with his wife to be a no-show at the Oscar awards ceremony. In 2016, the actor vowed not to attend the Oscars again in protest of the lack of diversity seen in the nominations, due to this being the 2nd year in a row that all 20 acting nominees were white. In an interview with Good Morning America, Will states that everyone in Hollywood is part of a community, and currently people of minorities are uncomfortable standing at the ceremony and saying that this is okay. At the end of his interview, Will concluded with a quote, "To lead with love and only good will come out of it." Will emphasized that the most important thing is that the spirit of the awards is maintained. This is not Will's first time boycotting an awards event. In 1980, he actually boycotted the Grammys once he was told that the announcement for Best Rap Performance would not be televised. We are moving on to number 7, and we have the former Disney star Bella Thorne. Besides her long-running time at Disney, Bella has starred in a great number of films and TV, such as The Duff, Midnight Sun, and Scream. According to a series of tweets from Bella, she publicly boycotted the Teen Choice Awards in 2018 despite having received multiple nominations, with nominations in Choice Drama Actress, Choice Drama TV Actress, and Choice Movie Ship. The celebrity would not attend the event or any other Teen Choice Awards in the future. This comes from her feelings about Fox's annual show, as she states that Teen Choice is gross. As Bella explains the fact that kids and teens' votes are pinned against each other, and that messes with kids' heads. As well, she mentioned that she believes the whole awards are rigged anyway. She concluded in her explanation for boycotting the awards and noted that instead of having categories such as Choice Female Hottie and Choice Male Hottie, they should replace it with Most Charitable or something like the Smartest Male and Female, which I agree. Like, do we really need hot teens? Like, who cares? Moving along to spot number 6 is none other than Drake. You probably don't need an introduction, but I'll give you one anyway. The Canadian singer, songwriter, and actor first started his career in Hollywood by starring in the TV series Degrassi, The Next Generation, which is filmed here in Toronto, which is always so fun, because I love Degrassi. But now Drake is most known obviously for his work as a musician. In 2018, Drake didn't even bother submitting his album More Life for consideration at the Grammys, because in 2017, Drake won a Grammy and took the stage to express how he did not expect to win this year considering who he was up against, but made it clear that the artists who didn't win a Grammy are still winners because they have a fan base willing to support them. As Drake's acceptance speech went on and began giving constructive criticism about the Grammys,
Grammys, the producers cut off his microphone and skipped to commercials. Drake has been very vocal against the Grammys for their lack of diversity among nominees, and this was just the tipping point for Drake. After his win in 2017, he told publications that he won 2 Grammys that he didn't even want because he wasn't happy that the awards show pinned him as a rapper when he doesn't believe that he truly falls into that category. The artist has been absent from ceremonies since, and he also declined to perform at the event in 2019. Honestly, if he's not a rapper, what is he? I would just pin him as a rapper personally. At the halfway mark, coming in at number 5 is Marlon Brando. Most notable for his role in The Godfather, the American actor has starred in numerous films throughout his career, with being a part of classic films such as Apocalypse Now, Superman, and Last Tango in Paris. Taking it way back to 1973, Brando has one of the most famous moments in Oscar history when he was announced the winner for Best Actor for his role in The Godfather. Marlon was not the one to attend, but Sacheen Littlefeather attended in his place to accept the award instead. Brando has been an activist for the treatment of Native communities and culture in North America, and he thought this was the perfect time to highlight the mistreatment of Native people. Dressed in a traditional dress, she was giving a 15-page speech. However, a producer on the show threatened to have her physically removed and arrested if her speech went over 60 seconds. So Littlefeather had to improv her speech, and when ushered to take the award trophy, she declined. Not only was she booed on stage, but after her speech when leaving the stage, John Wayne was allegedly held back by 6 men to stop him from assaulting her. Even though this was quite a long time ago, it's still shocking to hear about the hatred and aggression towards her. Moving down our list, number 4 is the rocker Brent Hinds. If you are unfamiliar with him, he is an American musician best known as a member of the metal band Mastodon. Mastodon? Chris? Mastodon. Chris met this guy, okay? Brent is a guitarist for the band in which they play heavy metal and rock music. The musician has also spent time working on film soundtracks, which include films like The Big Short and Monsters University. Even though Brent is part of the biggest heavy metal acts, he was reportedly kicked out of the Grammy Award ceremonies in Los Angeles in 2015. This was due to many reasons, the first being that he trolled the interviewers at the Grammys red carpet. But this was primarily at fault for him showing up to the ceremony dressed up as a Los Angeles Dodgers baseball star, Adrian Gonzalez, and allegedly he spilled a bag of illegal substances, money, and underwear on the red carpet. When he refused to pick up the contents, he was thrown out of the event due to bad behavior. Taking one of our top spots, number 3, we have the American actor Chase Stokes. Chase is best known for his leading role in the hit Netflix drama series Outer Banks and has acted in a handful of movies. Prior to landing his career-defining role in Outer Banks, though, he struggled in finding his place in Hollywood. There was a point in his early career where he would be living in his car and working on the side as a temporary catering waiter. Surprisingly, he ended up working as a waiter in Elton John's Oscar party, but got fired and kicked to the curb just 15 minutes into the job because he was seen watching the band. That being said, he still recalls it as a positive experience watching the band, even though he never got a paycheck. Luckily for Chase, everything ended up working out when he received his big break in Hollywood with Outer Banks, and maybe next time he will be invited back to Elton John's Oscar party as a guest instead of a waiter. Moving on to the second spot is the Godfather actor Carmine Caridi. Y'all, I probably said that wrong. I'm sorry. The American film actor got kicked out of the Academy for sharing screeners in 2004. According to an interview in 2017 with The Hollywood Reporter, he confessed that he used to share his VHS Oscar screeners, and not just with his family. He would actually pass his screeners on to actors and a variety of people, one of them being Russell Sprague. Russell would end up copying them before sending them back, and this is something that Hollywood takes very seriously, by the way. This was so bad that there was a chance that he could end up going to prison, but that didn't need to happen once evidence came out that Sprague was the one to copy the screeners. All of that being said though, he ended up facing a $300,000 lawsuit from Columbia Pictures and Warner Brothers, so let's just say being removed from the Academy and banned from attending the Oscars was just the beginning of the consequences that he had to deal with. Last but not least, at the very top spot at number 1 is Summer Walker. The American singer is wildly successful and has collabed with artists such as Drake, Justin Bieber, and Sam Smith. The R&B artist was set to attend the 2021 BET Hip Hop Awards show in Atlanta. Though Summer was unable to attend and was even banned from the show due to her refusal of taking the COVID-19 vaccine. Oh boy. Though the artist tested negative the day of the show, that was not good enough for the music network. The singer was banned not only because she wasn't vaccinated, but also because of her public stance on the matter. She was publicly sharing false accusations and news about the COVID vaccine, so they claimed. Obviously that's their opinion. That being said, she showed up anyway to the show to announce her sophomore album would be released next month. However, this message was actually received outside of the walls of the venue because she was refused entry upon arrival. She even commented on the matter in a video of her outside of the awards show, and she states, "I was super excited to go to the BET Hip Hop Awards today, but they wouldn't let me in due to COVID restrictions. I had such a pretty dress and everything, but it's fine."
At number 10, Linkin Park. I can't say I've ever been to any kind of award show, but from what I gather with these high-profile ceremonies, it's pretty exclusive and security is very tight. I mean, it would have to be when there's a big room of celebrities and crazy fans outside the venue trying to catch a glimpse of their favorite person. It's great for those who are invited because they know they'll have a mostly smooth trip to the show, but sometimes there can be mix-ups and it can cause quite the headache. One of these headaches occurred at the AMAs one year, and it resulted in the band Linkin Park getting kicked out of the award show. Back in 2017, the band was at the AMAs to accept the award for favorite alternative artist, but because of a mix-up with their credentials, they ended up spending most of the night battling with security to let them into the event. One of the bandmates documented the whole ordeal on their Instagram story, where they explained that they weren't given the right tickets and passes for backstage, and they spent a long time dodging security before eventually being kicked out. I feel like security should have a list of those who are attending the event so that this doesn't happen, but maybe things have changed since this incident. At number 9, Lily Allen. I think it goes without saying, but don't take substances. Actually, strange substances that were randomly given to you. Singer Lily Allen certainly did not follow that advice, as it got her in so much trouble that she ended up getting kicked out of an award show. Lily told the story of what happened on her Twitter when a fan asked to hear about a time that they were kicked out of somewhere. The singer told the fan about how they got kicked out of the Glamour Awards several years back because they did a line of what they thought was "no no snow," but it turned out to be a very different substance. Lily followed that up by saying, quote, "I was thrown out, passed over some railings of the Glamour Awards for being a K-hole," end quote. It's an unfortunate story, but it also once again reminds us to not take substances. Keep your noses clean, folks. Don't do it. Now, before I carry on with the rest of the video, I would like to ask you guys to consider leaving a big ol' thumbs up on this video if you're enjoying it so far, because it really does help the channel out and we love seeing your support. At number 8, Russell Brand. Russell Brand can be kind of an outspoken guy. He's the type of person who always says what's on his mind, and he often faces mild amounts of backlash for it. Like last year when he tried mansplaining WAP. That was definitely fun. But his words have also gotten him in trouble at award shows, and he's been kicked out of one for making some not so funny jokes. This all took place back in 2013 when he was attending the GQ Men of the Year award. When Russell was on stage, he started cracking jokes about the award show sponsor Hugo Boss, making fun at the fact that this brand had a history of providing uniforms for the German soldiers in World War II. You know, those guys. Anyways, Russell made a comment about this saying, quote, "Any of you who know a little bit about history and fashion will know that Hugo Boss made the uniforms for the Nazis. The Nazis did have flaws, but you know, they did look fantastic. Let's face it, while they were killing people on the basis of their religion and sexuality," end quote. As you can imagine, nobody found this joke funny at all. In fact, it was so unfunny that Russell was promptly kicked out of the show. It was very offensive, but he stuck to his guns, so to speak, continuing to comment on it via Twitter, but we don't need to talk about that today. At number 7, One Direction. Back in the day, One Direction was one of the biggest groups in the music industry, so any news about them was of course amplified by their fans. One story that caught a lot of people's attention was how a couple of the band's members had allegedly been kicked out of an award show, but as things on the internet do, details got lost and rewritten, so really no one knows exactly what happened that night, but I'll tell you about all the speculation that went on then. The band was at the AMAs back in 2015, and at some point during that evening, a picture of bandmates Niall Horan and Louis Tomlinson started circulating around Twitter, saying that they had been kicked out of the event for messing around too much. Soon fans started speculating, and that speculation turned into the following story. Apparently, once again, according to the internet. The two band members were hitting each other in the nuts, and so they got kicked out for being rowdy. Once this story started going around, reps of the band tried to clarify that the picture that started it all was taken as the lads were waiting to return after a commercial break, but at this point, everyone was ready to run with the ball story, so honestly, I don't know what to believe. The only solid information we have is that those two were sitting outside of the show. At number 6, Ryan Seacrest. Imagine being invited to one of Hollywood's biggest events just to get kicked out moments after you arrive. I feel like that would really suck because you would really hype yourself up to experience something so extraordinary, only to be let down and have your dreams crushed. Well, maybe not so dramatic, but it still wouldn't feel very nice. This is essentially what happened to Ryan Seacrest as he was invited to the Oscars awards ceremony and was kicked out shortly after arriving. According to Ryan, he was invited to the award show to provide the segue from the pre-show event to the main award show, but after he completed his task, he went to go find his seat because he assumed that he would be staying for the rest of the show. While he was looking for his seat, he was approached by the event's ushers and managers and was told, quote, "Mr. Seacrest, your car is ready," end quote. He was a little taken aback and was like, no, what do you mean? I just opened the show," to which they replied with, quote, "We don't have a ticket for you." Ouch. Ryan continued explaining what happened next, saying, quote, "So they put me in a car and they drove me out, and the next thing I know, I'm on Hollywood Boulevard going away from the Oscars, and the LAPD and the cops are on the corner, the windows down, and they say, 'Hey Ryan, you're going the wrong way.' I said, 'No, I'm going the right way.' They sent me home to watch on television like everyone else," end quote. That must have really stung, but at least he was able to get into some comfy clothes to watch the show from the comfort of his couch instead of being stuck in a suit sitting next to celebrities who don't wear deodorant or something. At number 5, Adam Pally. I figured that it would take a lot for someone to get kicked out of an event like the Shorty Awards. I mean, this award show is for social media stars and influencers, and they cause all kinds of shenanigans all the time. So I figured that this kind of energy was given at an event like this, but apparently someone has gone that extra mile to get kicked out of this event, and that was actor Adam Pally. Adam was at the award show back in 2018 to present an award, but apparently he thought that the concept of the entire award show was so dumb, and so he decided to rip on it for a good 10 minutes before getting escorted out of the event. As soon as he got to the stage, Adam started his commentary by saying, quote, "Thank you very much for having me tonight at the Shorty Awards, the waiting at the DMV of award shows," end quote. I mean, he's not wrong. He then followed up with a handful of other jokes, essentially making fun of the supposed legitimacy of the award show, but then he made one comment that was the last straw for the show's executives when he said, quote, "Tonight we pay tribute to those who are not with us. We're going to do an in memoriam for a bunch of, I don't know, like MySpace or something," end quote. He was escorted out of the event soon after. At number 4, Allison King. Once again, we have to talk about celebrities being under the influence in public. I understand that a lot of award shows serve drinks and whatnot, but that doesn't necessarily mean that you have to go overboard with the booze, because that can lead you to getting kicked out, and that's what happened with actress Allison King at the National Television Awards last year. The Coronation Street actress had to be escorted out of the event because she started drinking to excess, and that certainly wasn't a good look for those who were running the show. Other guests in attendance commented on the actress's state at the award show, saying that she was acting a little disorderly and pretty out of it because of how much alcohol she had consumed, and so once this came to the attention of the event's executives, they had to get her out of there for their sake and for Allison's. I would imagine that something like that would be pretty embarrassing, so let this serve as a reminder to drink responsibly, guys. At number 3, Kid Rock and Tommy Lee. While attending an award show, you have to respect what's going on stage. Whether it's a performance or the actual awards being presented, it's important to be a good audience member and not cause a scene in the middle of the event. Clearly, however, Kid Rock and Tommy Lee didn't quite get this memo, because when they attended the VMAs in 2007, they caused quite the scene and ended up getting kicked out because of it. The pair got into a heated argument during Alicia Keys' performance that started as a verbal fight and ended in an all-out brawl, with slaps, punches, and the whole 9 yards. Other guests in attendance were stunned while they watched this fight unfold. Some tried to get out of the way as security rushed to break the scene up, and others just sat at the table stunned. The police were eventually called in to handle the situation, but this fight was certainly not something that people would forget anytime soon. At number 2, Hattie McDaniel. Now, this incident didn't exactly result in someone getting kicked out, but it almost did. Back in 1940, actress Hattie McDaniel was nominated for an Academy Award, and she actually ended up winning the Oscar. However, she was almost unable to accept the honor because she was black, and they almost didn't let her attend the ceremony. Back then, the venue where the award ceremony was held was a whites-only establishment, so people had to pull a lot lot of strings to get the actress in the building, and even then, she wasn't allowed to sit with the rest of the cast of Gone with the Wind. Instead, she was seated in the far corner of the venue, but as long as she was there and able to accept the award, that was enough. She made history that night, and it's wild to think how different things would have been if she had been kicked out that night. And finally, at number 1, Aubrey Plaza. Even though many have tried, I feel like award shows aren't the place to be pulling weird stunts because they never end well. I mean, look at Kanye's VMA moment. It was straight up cringy. But even the embarrassment factor can't stop all celebrities from pulling stunts at these events, and actress Aubrey Plaza is one of those stars who tried to pull one of these stunts and it totally backfired and got her kicked out of the event. While attending the MTV Movie Awards back in 2013, Aubrey ran up on stage barefoot and tried to pry one of the golden popcorn trophies out of Will Ferrell's hands after he had just won the award for comedic genius. The comedian thought that the stunt was staged at first, but it turns out that this had been a publicity stunt from one of Aubrey's films called The To-Do List, which she had spelled out across her chest. It was just a really cringy moment, and I'm sure a lot of people have been trying to forget about it, so sorry for bringing it up again.